In this video, I'm gonna show you 5 ways that you can grow your moving company in the next couple months.
Once again, here we go. Know the name on the flow. Turn me up a little more.
All right, guys, so in this video, I'm gonna share with you guys the 5 most important ways. And to be honest, these are the same things that I did myself in my own moving company, grow it from 0 to more than $2 million a year in sales in literally under 2 years. So it's very important to understand the whole business, like the whole moving industry as a concept, right? And knowing that at the end of the day, it's the same exact thing as in any other industry, right? So number one, the one that, to be honest, I love the most, because I'm also a consultant in different other industries in this matter. So number one is getting more leads. So as basic as it would sound, in order for you to get more business, like you can just physically, just clap your hands and get more customers. Like you need more leads. Now, regardless if you're getting those leads from Thumbtack, Home Advisor, your own Google AdWords or SEO purposes, Facebook ads, YouTube organic, postcards, offline marketing. If you go to events where realtors are, so you can connect with more realtors, if you're using LinkedIn to engage with more realtors, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how, as long as you get more leads. And those leads are quality leads, right? Because if let's say you go for a third party website like Billy.com or 123 Movers or whatever, any other sites that sell leads, you have to understand that it's a big difference from those versus if you have your own lead generation campaign. And I'm gonna talk about this in a different video. And by the way, guys, if you want a 1-hour completely free training on what are the actual, because in this video, we're talking strategy. In that video, I'm talking tactical stuff. So in the description below, you'll be able to check that out. But essentially, understand the whole thing. Like you can just get more customers. Like you need more leads and you have to sell them more, right? So you have to decide what, and of course, in this scenario, you can just actually write it down on paper and make a list. What are the lead sources that you've used so far? What are the ones that actually worked and brought you a good return on investment? What are the ones that haven't? So whatever gets measured can grow. If you don't measure it, you won't be able to grow it. Like for example, in order for you to know what are the leads that really bring you the best return on investment, you need to have a CRM. You need to be able to tag those leads based on what are the lead sources that are coming from. So let's say you have a lead that's coming from Yelp versus a lead that's coming from Google. Let's assume you spend $5K a month on Yelp and you get, I don't know, let's say to make the math easy, let's say you get 100 leads out of those $5,000 invest. That means that you're paying $50 per lead. That's not necessarily a bad cost for that, but if the average cost of every move that's coming from Yelp is, let's say, $400 versus, let's assume you pay $80 for a Google lead, but the average move coming from Google, it's let's say $1,200. Now all of a sudden you can do the math and say, oh crap, I'm getting way more leads from Yelp, but I'm only converting 10% of them. And on top of that, the average move coming from Yelp, it's only $400. Or let's say $500 to kind of break even. When you compare it to Google, you realize, I'm not saying necessarily like in every market is the same, but what I found is Google leads are a little more expensive, but they way more quality leads because it's coming straight from a search term. If you know how to put it in front of them, it's a little more technical. And I'm talking about this in the training that I mentioned. So below this video, you'll be able to sign up for that. So again, it's important to know what leads are you using, how much you're spending for those leads, how many of them convert into actual sales, and what's the average move coming out of every lead source, right? Because the moment you understand that, then you know. But if you don't measure it, you won't be able to track it. So, if you don't track it, you won't be able to measure it. If you don't measure it, you won't know if you need to continue doing it or you need to stop and put your marketing efforts and your budget into a different lead source. It's not a problem when it's not working. It's a problem when it's not working and you continue doing it. And I hope that makes sense. All right. So the next step in this process, or number 2, is how you can increase conversions. So of course, there are 2 types of conversions, right? Like they're actually more than 2. But in this scenario, we're talking about lead conversion into, I'm even making this arrow so you guys understand exactly. We're talking about converting these leads into actual customers. So if your current conversion rate from a lead, let's say somebody's clicking on an ad, it's coming to your landing page or your website, whatever, which by the way, you should not send your traffic to your website, but that's for another lesson. And let's say you convert at 10%. Let's say people that become a lead, out of 100 leads, you only are able to book 10 moves. So if you think about it, even without putting more money into advertising to get more leads, what you can do to actually increase those conversions, like what you can do to actually convert more of those leads into actual sales. So it's the type of follow-up that you do, right? Like I had a conversation with a one-on-one client recently, and when I asked him, all right, somebody's calling your company, let's say it's coming from an ad or from a postcard or from a realtor or whatever, and they're calling your company and they get a quote over the phone and you send them the quote, let's say they don't book on the first call. What happens next? And my client said, what do you mean? And I was like, what happens next? Like, what's the next step in the process for that lead specifically? And he said, well, if it doesn't book, it's goodbye. We move on to the next one. So that's a huge mistake. I didn't know this at first. Like when I first started my moving company in 2015, I didn't know what a lead follow-up meant. I didn't know how I could implement the process in place to do the follow-up automatically, or at least to let me know, hey, Marian, yesterday you had the lead, but they didn't book. Why don't you follow up with them, right? So I didn't know how to do it, but you can set up automated follow-up, at least automated follow-up emails and notifications for your salespersons or for your sales team or for yourself if you're a one-man show in terms of you running the dispatch, you're running the sales, you're running operations, you book in, you go to in-homes, you take your phone. Like, it doesn't really matter what, especially if you are a one or two-person show, automating your follow-up, it's a huge help for you because you don't need to constantly remembering yourself and putting in your calendar to follow up with that person. So the number 1 method to increase conversions is to make sure you have a sales follow-up process in place. Now, that can be text follow-up, that can be email follow-up, that can be, phone call follow-up. You'll have to, pick up the phone and call them. But in order for you to know that that person hasn't booked, you need to be notified, right? So you have to set up an automation for that. So in terms of email follow-ups, you can use all kinds of platforms. The one that I like the most and the one that I actually use myself in my moving company is a platform that has it all together. So it's called ClickFunnels, and I'll make sure I'll link in the description a free landing page with a full automated follow-up that you can use yourself. So it's free. You don't need to pay anything for the template itself. You can use it yourself. If you decide to use it after 2 weeks, I think you can go on a plan that is $19 a month or something like that. Now, the way that works is it collects data from the customer, name, email, phone number, zip code from, zip code to, and the moment that person hits submit, all of a sudden the automation kicks in. So the system knows to tag that lead. Now, of course, you need to do a little when somebody, you shouldn't just send a quote to a lead without talking to them over the phone and trying to sell them on the first call. If they don't book, then the follow-up should go in place. But even when they book, you should have another follow-up email sequence in place for people to buy more, like to buy supplies from you, to buy storage, to buy valuation coverages, to buy, maybe you do change of address concierge and you help people change their addresses using Updater. That's for the step number 3. So it's important for you to understand that even without putting more money into getting more leads, you can increase conversions by making sure that you follow up with people properly. Another thing that you can do is use retargeting. So people that became your leads, now you show them maybe testimonials, and this could be super, super cheap. And I talk about this in my program, Mover Accelerator, where people that become leads, you can show them video testimonials with literally a cent per view, and you can use YouTube or Facebook to do that. But another way that you can increase conversions from your leads is making sure that you have a sales script. So making sure that you have a script in front of you when you sell them, or your sales team is following the same type of script that you want. Because if they don't, everybody has their own way of selling. Everybody has to be on the same page. All right. So number 3, have your customers buy more from you. Clients to buy more. Now, what does this mean? So if somebody's paying a deposit, and you should charge a deposit, in my opinion, that should be mandatory. People should not be allowed to book their move without paying a deposit. But nonetheless, it's not the point of this lesson. Clients to buy more from you, meaning somebody that booked a move with you, they should be upsold into buying more supply. Like, what's the next logical step in that process? Buying supplies if they booked, buying valuation, moving coverage, right? Like, not insurance, because you're not an insurance company, but you can set up private contracts between you and the consumer to sell more valuation. Buying, again, like I said at step 2, buying more moving concierge in terms of changing people's addresses. You can use a program like a software, an app like Updater, and you can use that. You pay $150 or $120 per year. Don't know exactly the amount, but you can change the addresses for unlimited people. Or you can not charge for that. Like, we charge $27 for it, but you can use it for free for a while. For about a year and a half, we used it for free, and we just made the offer way more appealing. Like, all of a sudden, nobody else on the market was doing that. So now we came up and said, okay, we're gonna also save you 6 hours and change your addresses, like change all your subscriptions, change all your utilities. Like, in Updated, it's super easy to do that. You just put people's pick up and drop off addresses, and all of a sudden the system does it all. You hit submit and then you're done, right? So think about this. When is the best place for somebody to buy more? The moment that they pull their credit card and raise their hand and said, I'm a buyer, I want to move with you, I want to pay a deposit. So you need to have a system in place when people buy their deposit, when they pay for their deposit, to be able to upsell them right there and then. And on the same page, I use the same platform called ClickFunnels, and that allows me to upsell people without them having to enter their credit card again. So for example, when people put their information in there, their credit card number and all that, when they hit submit, a pop-up shows up and it asks them, would you like to add a $6,000 or $9,000 worth of coverage for an additional $95, or pay $125 at the time of the move? So people know that, oh crap, I'm saving $30. Yes, I want the coverage, right? You get the point. So it's important to know that. And in my field training that I'm talking about, that's in the description below, I actually show that process and how easy it is to actually implement. So that's how you make clients buy more. Now, the next step in that upselling process can be moving supplies. So when people pay the deposit for us and we ask them, hey, would you like to add moving coverage? 3 out of 10, it's like 30% conversion rate, said yes. And out of those 30%, another 70% actually buy the supplies, because it's the next logical step in that process. So when they click submit, the pop-up shows up. It asks them, hey, do you want to add coverage? Instead of then showing a thank you page and just say, hey, thank you for booking your move with us, we actually show them another page that asks them, hey, would you like to add, for a limited time offer, $125 worth of supplies for only $75? Now, again, in this scenario, you can decide like what's your profit margin and how you can actually make things happen to increase the profit for you. But for us, we did the math. We know how many boxes, like how many book boxes and medium and large and bundles of paper we afford to put in that bundle, to charge that amount, to still make a profit, because it makes things so much easier for the consumer. All right. Now, and then the last thing is we ask them, hey, the last step in that process, it's a downsell. So a downsell is something lower in the sales funnel. We asked them, hey, would you like to save 6 hours and have us change all your addresses? And most of people say yes, because it's only $27. And then we handle that. And, the last thing in this process is on the thank you page, we show them a video where we say, thank you for booking your move. We'll send you all the details shortly. But on top of that, we also show them a couple other options. We let them know that we offer storage. We also have a department that does move in, move out cleaning services. And Time to time, we sell advertising spots from other companies. For example, if a plumber wants to advertise on our thank you page, if another maybe organizer or a stager or whoever, if they want to advertise on our page, we charge them $200-300 a month. And that pays for the ad budget for that specific click, right? So I hope that makes sense. Number 4, clients to buy more often. All right, so I know my handwriting is not the best, but hopefully you guys get a lot of value out of it so you don't care about the way that I'm writing, right? Clients to buy more often. So we know that in the moving industry, that's not that easy. Like people don't just randomly move 3-4 times a year. I mean, some people may, if they have a business and you move their office time to time, you move stuff within their building. Like for example, we have an account that generates roughly close to $120,000 a year. And that's a hotel. They hire us pretty much every 2 weeks for random stuff. Like sometimes we need to move their patio furniture. Sometimes we need to put their restaurant furniture, the patio furniture into our storage. Sometimes we need to move like 140 to 250 rooms worth of furniture for different meetings that happen inside that hotel. And it has to be done between a certain time frame so they can have their furniture back in the rooms so the guests can check in. So that's for a commercial account, right? So of course, if I would be to advise everyone, in order for clients to buy more often, you should have a few accounts like this. At this point in time, we have 3 similar accounts. One is a hotel, another one is an international shipping company that sends us a lot of clients monthly. And then the other one, it's just a couple of stagers. They're in a network, and they, every single week we have 2 to 3 jobs for that network. Now, it's important to understand that in order for them to buy more often, like number 1, they need to find out about you, so they need to get leads. You need to sell them, and then you need to make a great offer. So for example, all the stagers get a 5% discount every single time when they use us again. So, in 1 year period, if they use us 4 times, time 12, that's a lot of discounts. But in the same time, you have to understand that we don't pay again for that customer. Like it's almost the way that I look at things is, if people are not paying, if we don't need to pay to acquire another customer, we can afford to spend this amount of money giving that customer back as a discount. Because at the end of the day, you pay. Like if you don't want to be given discounts for returnless customers, think about it. How much money you need to spend in order for you to be able to acquire a new customer. So if you pay $60, $80 for a lead, or 30, 40, 50, whatever it is, and you sell 3 out of 10 leads, like if you have a 30% conversion rate, well, all of a sudden, let's say if it's 50 and you paid $500 to acquire those 10 leads and only 3 of them booked, well, all of a sudden you realize that you pay around $150 to acquire a customer. Sometimes it's more, sometimes you pay less, depending what's your conversion rate. So it's important to understand that in order to buy more often, you need to make them a great offer so they can come back to you on and on and on. You need to offer a great service. So of course they need to be happy. Or if something goes bad, you need to be able to make that right. We all know that sometimes things do go wrong, but as long as you fix it on time, people are usually pretty good about it. And on top of that, you need to let them know that they can get that discount if they decide to move back. So what do I mean by that? Have a 3 email series sent to them after they move saying thank you, and let them know that you offered this discount. Some people don't assume that you do. So you have to let them know, and make sure you do that by sending them an email or maybe calling them and say, hey, I just want to let you know that we appreciate your business. And if you ever refer somebody to us, we either give them 5% back to them, or we pay you 5% back if you refer us to somebody, right? Like more often doesn't necessarily mean the same customer more often. It means that they can become almost like a brand ambassador for you. Like we have probably like 5 to 10 people at this time. They like all of our Facebook and Instagram photos. They refer everybody to us. Sometimes they even say, not sometimes, literally every single time they say, I don't want a commission, just give that discount back to my friend. I recommend you guys because I love you. Like it's, there are people that just become brand ambassadors of your company, even though you may think that you are in an industry that doesn't create that. Trust me, it does. And last and not least, how can you increase your profit margins? Put profit. So, of course, every moving company is different, but overall, they're all the same. So depending how you decide to offer your service, how you decide to pay your guys, how you decide to charge, if it's credit card, cash, or check, how you decide to handle, like how many people you have in the management positions, people like sales manager or dispatcher or things like that, that will dictate how much you can increase your profit margins. But in my opinion, the first couple of places that you should pay attention to is you have to track your lead. If you track your leads properly, I bet you that in the next 2 days, if you go back to your P&L, your profit and loss, to your balance sheet, or going into the CRM and realize that, okay, this many leads are coming from Yelp and I'm paying this amount per month. Well, might as well, if I look back for the last 3-6 months and maybe a year prior to that, you realize that sometimes some leads, they're just not worth it to be spending money to acquire them. So might as well put that amount, put that budget into a different marketing lead source. And when you do that, all of a sudden now, or maybe test others, right? Like maybe you haven't tried postcards, like offline marketing. Maybe get that budget from the lead that is not working and putting into another lead source and keep testing it out. Maybe you haven't tried SEO. SEO, it's a pretty long game, so we'll talk about that in a different video. But it's important for you to understand how are you going to increase the profit margin. Are you charging people? Are you tracking the way that your foremen are charging your customer? Are you losing on travel time? Do you charge travel time? Do you try to make your clients buy more from you? That's how you increase profit. Like you sell more, like you paid already. Like think about that. If you paid $150 to acquire a customer and that customer only spends on average $800 with you, and now you are able to make your client buy more by adding supplies and adding valuation and adding things that you can make a profit without acquiring another customer. Like that's huge. That's how you make more profit on the same customer. All right. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't go anywhere. Number one, make sure you check out the free training that I put out in the description below. And number two, look up the next video coming up on my left right there, where I talk about how you can get more leads for your moving company in 2019, 2020, moving forward. I'll see you there.